I'm Rebecca Lencho, and my current job is a site HR manager. So it's more of that generalist role with Rockline Industries. We make baby wipes, moist toilet wipes, and facial wipes. My degree is in sociology, and my first job out of college was social work. So I actually worked with developmentally disabled adults, and it was quite interesting because I did that for about maybe 2 years. But this is kind of, I guess, Arkansas a little bit, and the south of the United States is everybody knows somebody, you kind of thing, and the networking does play in. I actually walked into a staffing firm and said, hey, I'm looking for a job. And so they started looking, and the lady called me back, the owner, and said, hey, I actually have a job here. Do you want to come work and do staffing? So that's how I fell into HR. And then from there, I went into a company and did recruitment, and, you move into different aspects of human resources. So I don't know that there's a normal day, and that's probably why I like the career. So there is just a lot of variety, of answering basic questions to benefits and pay, dealing with employee problems, reporting, government reporting, all those things make up a day. I just completed our affirmative action plan, so we provide wet wipes. We sell wet wipes to military bases, and that's considered a government contractor, so we're required by law to provide an affirmative action plan and look at how we're making our efforts to keep our workforce diverse. So that's one thing that I might be involved in, is different projects like that. And then, normally you'll have different issues, employee issues that are coming up, and maybe somebody comes in and they're looking at a position and they don't understand why they're not being offered more. Or more money, or I had another gentleman that came in this morning that is looking at tying in the downtime, so the non-productive time on our production lines, and trying to get data from our employee time recording system so that we can marry those two together and see the actual hours worked on a particular production line, and how can we bring these two systems together. It's just really a variety every day. There might be, yesterday I met with a temporary agency that wanted our business, and so they come in and they're pitching to me and saying, hey, we want to, if you have temporary needs, we want to be the firm that you call. And the good thing about it is you've got that people contact, and even though there may be the same kind of problem, maybe you've got 5 different employees with an attendance problem, but you've got 5 different personalities or 5 different reasons, and so everything still has a little uniqueness. Even though you're dealing with the same kind of problem, it's unique because there's a different person behind it. We do a lot of training and development, so that is definitely kind of an area that I love. I feel like I'm good at, is facilitating learning opportunities. I also like the employee relations act side of it, where I'm taking care of the problem children, is what I call it. The multitasking can be a challenge because everybody's got their priority, and when you're dealing with employees, they need information right now, or maybe the business needs information. And the other tough thing is kind of balancing business needs, but also protecting the employee and what their needs are. And so that's probably the biggest challenge, is just kind of balancing those two. And so sometimes people say, how can you go in and fire somebody? And I said, well, I would rather be me doing it than somebody else, because I try to go in and leave that person with as much dignity and respect, that I can, because it's an awkward situation or it's unpleasant. One of the challenges with the Arkansas facility here in Springdale is we actually have the largest Marshallese population of the United States. And people think, Springdale, Arkansas, why would, how did that ever happen? And I had that question from somebody not too long ago. And I don't know that I know how it happened, but I think the Marshall Islands are shrinking in the ocean, and it's forcing a migration. And I think the culture is more of, by the word of mouth and very family driven. And so once you have a pocket of that population, then others are going to come because there's that connection. And so it's been a challenge from a communication standpoint. A lot of our employees understand basic English, but that might not be their primary language. So even when you're communicating something in English, either in writing or verbally, there may not be that full comprehension of what does that mean. A technique, I guess, and also a system called process-based leadership. And so it's trying to make sure that the communication is happening on an ongoing basis, and that information is passed up, passed down, passed across. And then another aspect that maybe HR gets involved in is we try to have quarterly meetings with our associates. So, for example, when I started, our company handbook was very out of date. And so I said, okay, we need to update this facility's handbook. There was some major changes to holiday benefits, good things, and then there was also some negative things, negative impact on how we're going to calculate overtime pay. And so what we try to do is twofold, is we had a meeting where we shared those highlight changes with the associates. And then what we're also trying to do with the handbook is push it out electronically. Yeah, and that can be tough because when you're in a production environment where you have people that maybe don't have email access, you even have people that may not have home computers still, which we think is crazy, but it's real. You have to find ways to say, okay, let's make sure everybody's getting the same message. You got to be comfortable working with a variety of people. You have to be somewhat outgoing, because if you're recruiting or, relaying even negative information, you've got to, have that confidence to be able to do that. But, I think a college education definitely helps, just from a project standpoint, a deadline, learning how to hit those deadlines, and multitasking, and having that exposure at a university where you are around different people that think differently, so it's just, if I'm hiring a scientist one day and I'm hiring a salesperson the next day, that's two totally different personalities, because people are going to like the field, that they're comfortable with based on their personality too. So you have to be comfortable with making those adjustments, and how you look at recruiting or interviewing. So yeah, I think, and then, change. I mean, you got to be comfortable with being able to embrace the change, whether you agree with it or not, and communicate it, and and support it.